Oh, hi, Mark. All right. So today we are doing a review with no notes, and I watched the movie like yesterday. Watched it yesterday. Well, it's 2:06 a.m. So technically day before yesterday. Yeah, day before yesterday. Um, I'm going surely based off of memory. I've seen this movie a couple of times, so it's not unfeasible that I do this because this is a movie that I have seen a few different times. It's a film that I love, and so I figured, it might be fairly easy to do this because it's always easier to remember things about a movie you love than a movie you're kind of meh on, or maybe a movie like just a movie you don't feel as strongly about. And this film is The Witch. The Witch was directed by Robert Eggers, and I believe it was released in 2015. And it is about a family who is exiled from a, what do you call a place like this? Sort of a settlement in the early days of the Pilgrims, and basically they have to make it on their own now, out in the middle of nowhere, and they begin to suspect that there's something funny afoot. And by something funny afoot, I mean they begin to suspect that there is a witch out there messing up the woodwork. Um, I mean, first of all, if you're looking for someone to talk about this movie in a negative light, I'm not the person to go to. I can't possibly, I really can't even say anything bad about this movie. I don't know what it would be if I were to say something bad about this film. Um, when I watched it the other day, I watched it with my mom. My mom doesn't like horror movies. Uh, and so we watched it, and she was like, "That was dumb." I'm like, how do you call something like that dumb? I just don't understand. Something that is made so well and portrayed in such a serious light. I mean, there is not one moment of levity in this movie. Not one. This whole movie is slow building tension, and it's fantastic. From the ominous music, I mean, it's building up this ominous atmosphere from the very beginning. As soon as they're exiled from the settlement, they essentially they go out into the wilderness, and there's this great kind of establishing. I'm not a filmmaker. All right, so don't roast me if I get shot things wrong, but like it's kind of establishing the woods, and it plays this ominous music over the top of this great shot of the woods and them going towards the woods. The way that every time someone goes into the woods, some shit is afoot. So, some bad things are about to happen. The woods in this movie are always associated with negativity. There's nothing positive that happens into the woods. From the beginning, where they're exiled from the community and they go out there, to, when the middle child goes missing. I'm forgetting his name at the moment. But and it's fantastic the way it's building this up. um I think I've harped on that enough, but it really is just amazing, and it is very, this whole movie has such a great ominous atmosphere about it, and there are so many shots in this film where it's showing some fairly ordinary stuff, but it plays this ominous sort of music over it, and so you get the feeling, and you get to understanding that there is something very wrong here, and that's shown through multiple ways, not just the music. I mean, when they finally settle down, their crops are all dying. The baby disappears. That's always a telltale sign that something's wrong, is that your baby disappears. Yeah, that's when you know you have a problem. But I love the way this movie builds atmosphere and builds tension through music and through this dark, gloomy cinematography. And that's another amazing thing about this movie, is I absolutely love the darkness of it. It is such a dark film, not only tonally, but visually. The tone in this movie is extremely dark. Like I said, there's not one moment of levity in this movie. Not in this whole damn movie. And, well, you know me. I'm a weird person. Actually, you don't know me. You don't know me. I've made like 14 videos. I'm like, you know me, like we're close, intimate friends. But I am a person who really appreciates dark films, tonally, I mean. And so when a movie is like this and it does it really well, to where it's essentially just a whole hour and a half. I think this movie's about an hour and a half of just negativity and negative emotion and just tension, building tension constantly. I'm bound to like that movie. And this movie just so happens to be one of those films that I not only like, but I love. Something that's really cool about this movie is they speak in time period accurate dialect, which I always thought was really cool. Like, this is sort of next level artsiness for a horror movie, you know. I think there are some people who are of the belief that horror can't really be anything that's too artsy or for lack of a better word, like too good. And movies like The Witch really just prove that wrong. Like, this is a good film. This isn't just a fun little popcorn movie like Friday the 13th. This is a very good film. You know, down to the period accurate dialect, like I said, the cinematography, the great sound effects and score throughout the movie. Like I said, it's amazing the way that the score kind of builds tension, but how it fits into the movie is amazing. And like I said, a baby disappears in this movie, and we find out the fate of the baby. Some people might not catch it, but we do find out the fate of the baby, and it's really disturbing. Essentially, the witch grinds it up and smears it on herself. And for those of you who didn't catch that and want to be disgusted and or traumatized, that's what becomes of the baby in this movie, which is super dark and super evil. I have to gather that this unholy old woman in the middle of the woods is gaining something from this, but I don't know what it is. She's gaining creeping me the hell out. That's what she's gaining, because this witch is creepy and disturbing. All I have to say is I'm not disturbed by overweight, naked old ladies. And when they're grinding up babies and cursing children and making a general, to put it lightly, nuisance of themselves by, doing things like breaking into your shed in the middle of the night by falling through the roof and making your goat spew blood out of its milk hole. I'd say I'm a little more unsettled by that naked old lady. This whole movie, super unsettling. The villain is super unsettling. The hysteria within the family is really well built, as far as it establishes right off the bat that these are religious people and that they believe a certain thing and that they think a certain way. And if you know anything about that time period, I mean, this is right around the Salem witch trials, right? I mean, it had to be, because the dad at one point in the movie was talking about his daughter, and he was like, I can't conceal it anymore. Like, I'm gonna report you, and, we're gonna burn you at the stake. It'll be a fun time. I don't think he ever says burn you at the stake, but I think that's what's insinuated. And so the way that it kind of shows their gullible nature, and because if you look at it through their eyes, their train of thought in this movie makes sense. It makes sense that Thomasin would be a witch. Now, Thomasin was not a witch until the very end of the movie, where she makes a deal with literally the devil, literally Lucifer, and that is a creepy scene. If I'm not mistaken, in my memory, I think the first time I watched this movie, that scene in the barn gave me chills. I think the exact moment I got the chills was when, actually, I think I got them a couple different times in that scene, just because, like, the writing for this devil, for whatever is in Black Phillip, is so, like, that is how you imagine the devil would speak, and it's really chilling just to hear him say things like, wouldst thou like to live deliciously, and, wouldst thou like to see the world? Like that, I don't know why, but those two lines of dialogue, they really got me, especially the wouldst thou like to live deliciously. That's the exact kind of, like, creepy temptation shit you expect to come out of the devil's mouth, and it is fantastic. In case you hadn't noticed, I think pretty much everything about this movie is fantastic. The performances all around are amazing. The mother gets on my nerves a little bit, but I'm sure that's pretty accurate to how people were back in the day. The father is a great character. The twins are annoying as hell, and they're the real villains of this movie, man. The twins are awful. Jonas and Mercy. I can't with the twins, man. I just can't with them. I think the only parenting strategy there is to put them on the leash and tie them up to the fence like they did in that one scene. Like, yep, that's 10 out of 10 parenting. Would recommend to a friend. Like, I'm not dealing with this shit. They are the most annoying little bastard. What do they spend their day doing? They don't contribute to anything. They're little wastes of space that chase your goat around the yard, singing weird nursery rhymes. I don't get them. I don't get their character motivations. But they are for sure the most... That's about the most negative thing about this. Sorry. That's for sure about the most negative thing about this movie that I can really say, is that Jonas and Mercy are the most annoying little cretins this side of the equator. But I mean, other than that, I think that they kind of needed to be annoying. They kind of needed to be terrible little human beings for the movie to progress the way it did. And so I don't hate that they're in the film. It's just they are annoying, and that's just part of their character, and it's part of the story of the movie. You know, if they weren't annoying and just terrible little humans, then they wouldn't have faked like they were being witched by Thomasin in the scene where, why can't I remember that kid's name, but where he comes back and he's like, I butcher every line from this movie, but he's like, let me receive kisses from thy mouth, and, you know, he's praising Jesus as he's dying. Oh, that was a powerful scene, too. That was a really powerful scene. That kid, just, he emoted so much. He put out so much damn emotion that it's like that could have easily come across as cheesy, but I don't think it did at all. I think that scene was fantastic, and I think his acting was incredible in that particular scene, but in the rest of the movie too. I mean, that kid is an amazing little actor. And of course, Anya Taylor-Joy is great as Thomasin. I don't think she's the standout performance necessarily, because that kid exists and he has that scene, and I don't know, man, that scene is awesome. And like I said, I love the dad's performance. Everything about The Witch is phenomenal, in my opinion. And so, sort of predictably, I'm gonna give this movie a 10. It gets a 10 out of 10. I didn't actually really want to give it a 10, because it just seemed, I don't know, it seemed like too good of a rating to give to this movie, but I don't know, I have no reason not to give it a 10, so The Witch gets a 10 out of 10 for me. Thank you for staying till the end. If you stayed till the end, thank you. You're the real MVP. I'll catch you guys on the next one.